Good evening, everyone. Before we start, I want to say happy Valentine's Day to everyone, the ladies, the men, we all celebrate. So I wanted to acknowledge that. Happy Valentine's Day to everyone. Tonight, the Reinvention Center Growth Hour brings a very unique topic of emotional intelligence. And we have a very intelligent woman, Miss Foster, who is going to be actually breaking down the her view and her perspective and the some of the world's perspective of what emotional intelligence is. I think that it's a great topic, and we have a even greater person presenting it tonight. Before we get started, I want to say that we do have some housekeeping that we need to do, which is, please, everyone, we haven't given up on Dr. Carmen Johnson and her petition. I ask that everyone goes who haven't signed, please go and sign the petition and share it. We don't need you to make any donations. We just need you to sign the petition and share. Before we spoke on how it's not getting the growth that we would have liked it for it to have gotten. I ask that if people assist us in changing that and going from there. Also, tonight, I have two co-hosts. I have Lisa Riley from Breaking Silence and the Reinvention Center, and I have Maurice Clifton from Sail with Sippy and the Reinvention Center. Um, Later on throughout this, before we even get started, I'm going to allow them to, introduce themselves and because I see we have a lot of new members, so I want him to also explain what it is that he actually does. Phenomenal guy, and I hope that you gather the same opinion that I have about him. Mr. Clifton, can you unmute yourself?
Yeah, were you talking about me or just another Maurice Clifton on that you know?
Well, I was talking about the other Maurice Clifton.
How y'all doing, man? Hey, Eric. Hey, Sarah. How y'all doing? Brenda, everybody. Man, it's good to be back. That week off, man, it seemed like eternity, man. I was like, man, I started to call you on the Super Bowl, man. When the throw, man, we should have had the meeting.
Yeah, we should have with the way that Super Bowl went. We should have had it.
Man. Anyway, I'm Maurice Clifton, everybody. I did 23 years of incarceration. I did some time with my brother James Jones, and I have an organization called SAIL, is Sippy's Advocacy Initiative and Leadership. And what I do, I help former incarcerated people. I have to use the word inmate or offender. I help formerly incarcerated people transition back into society based on my own experience. And when I got out, I didn't really have any help. So I just created my organization out of necessity. I go around to different cleaners and I get clothes and stuff. So when they come home, I at least want to give them some hygiene and clothes, at least a good pair of pants, a good shirt, where they can get a good job interview. I'm in the process of calling all the halfway houses in Mississippi because there are a lot of people in the state penitentiary here in Mississippi who are waiting to come home, but they have nowhere to go. Have certain halfway houses, they got the criteria so high, they're not letting them come home. And so what I do is I just try to help people. I do a lot of community work where I help children of incarcerated parents, but the community as a whole. I try to feed the community. I try to give back to the community at least once a month. So along with the Reinvention Center and Breaking Silence. So man, they're just not co-workers, man. They're everybody who comes on here, man. I see you guys as
You're kind of breaking up, Mr. Clifton.
close friends, a tight knit circle, especially when you. Okay, yeah, I don't know what it is. So anyway, that's me, Sail with Sippy. You can reach out. I have a YouTube channel. It's called Sail with Sippy. So you can look at it, you can subscribe, and you can see the type of work that I do.
All right, thank you, Mr. Clifton. Miss Riley, would you like to say something before we get started?
Sure. I'm Lisa Riley, and I have the group Breaking Silence with Prison Reform. I am very blessed to be able to work with Mr. Clifton and Mr. Jones underneath the Reinvention Center. Now, I'm in Ohio. If someone reaches out and needs housing, food, or what have you coming home, I'm more than happy to help them. A time or two, I team up with Mr. Jones and Mr. Clifton, and we just help people, and I can't say enough about both of them. it's just, we're the real deal. We don't ask for a penny. We ask for respect. And that's what we're about, helping people. Truly are. If I could say again, I did put Dr. Carmen's petition at the bottom of the live here that we're on Facebook. And then also I do have a birthday fundraiser going around on my page and on Breaking Silence. And it does say on there, but I want to say that money will be split up 3 ways between Sale-Mississippi, the Reinvention Center, and Breaking Silence. And we're just trying to help people. You know, that's what it is in a nutshell. So that was my spill. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Before we go to Ms. Foster, I want to please give a brief, and forgive me for not doing it before, but with the Reinvention Center, what I do in Washington, D.C., Virginia, or Maryland area is I help people draft or put together resumes. We do mock job interviews. We help you find employment, and in any other service that we can to help you. If it means taking any type of class that helps you into personal skill building, whatever it is that we can help an individual transition back into society, I try to help you with. I don't know everything. Please allow me to say that there. I don't know everything, and I'm not professing to know everything, but I think between me and the person I'm helping, we'll find out whatever it is that we need to know. If we can't find it together, then we always have this network of people, this platform of people that we can reach out to. And everybody has been great with trying to be responsive in requests and stuff like that. So, again, it's all about helping and educating and helping one grow. With that being said, I would like to introduce Miss Nikki Foster. She is the individual that's going to present the topic, which is emotional intelligence. I hope, like myself, you have been looking forward to hearing this topic. So with that, I'm going to pass it over to Miss Foster, allow her to introduce herself and give you some information about her, and then we can go into the topic. Good evening, Miss Foster.
Good evening, Mr. Jones. How are you today?
I'm great. Yourself?
I'm doing well. And first of all, I would just like to thank you, Mr. Jones, for allowing me to be a part of your platform. Ms. Harris is the one that introduced me to you, and she has told me a lot about how you guys are working hard to help people that are incarcerated to transition back into the community. So I just want to say thank you for allowing me to be here, and I just want to thank God for this opportunity as well.
You're welcome. Just wanted to add, and I understand why you said, but please know that we are, like Mr. Maurice Clifton said, we are family. So when one of us let a person on, we all letting the person on. This is our platform. This is not just no one person's platform. That's how we operate on this platform. This is for us, the people. Right. So we definitely appreciate you coming on, and we're definitely, again, I can only reiterate, look forward to you presenting what you present. And I always tell people, if you have topics you would like to bring, hey, bring them, because it's about growth. We are here to help each other. Bring them, and as I said before, I don't know everything, so I'm seeking to learn as well. And I'm looking forward to learn something tonight.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Mr. Jones. So my name is Nikki Foster, and I am in the Atlanta, Georgia area. And I am a certified professional life coach. And the name of my practice is the Oracle 8. I have always had a passion for helping people. I think I had a gift from, being a child with being able to help people talk through their problems, be an advisor. Everybody would always come to me with their problems and, try to discuss, areas that we can work through to try to resolve the issue. So ever since I was a young lady, even in high school, I have always had a passion for helping people. So I feel like that's my passion, and that's my purpose. And so I was introduced to this platform by Miss Harris, which is a longtime friend of mine. And me and her basically talk about a lot of things for us, like personal development and inspiring others to be great, in their own lives. So I would consider my coaching style, I'm more like a solution-based coach, because I like to like get to the root issue of the problem. And because I believe that the answers are already within us. And sometimes it takes, asking the right questions and going deep within for us to discover what it is that, we already know about ourselves. So I worked for corporate America for like 20 years. And after being let go from that company, I decided to go back to school. But while I was working at corporate America, I always wanted to pursue, being a life coach, but I never really had the opportunity or the time to do it because of my schedule. So, after leaving that job, I decided that, maybe I can go back to school to just, work on myself and, educate myself and become a better person. And so, like I said, life coaching has always been a thing for me. And back in 2016, I'm gonna just tell you something personal about me. Unfortunately, my son, my only son, he was killed March of 2016, and he was killed at a local gas station close to downtown Atlanta. And it kind of just like woke me up to the reality of the spirit world and what we are here for and what our purpose, because when death come knocking at your door, it's like, it's gonna wake you up. So um going through that experience, going through, I would consider like the dark night of the soul, dark nights of the soul, basically, going through depression, just coming out of that dark place after experiencing that. I decided that I wanted to go and pursue my purpose for as inspiring others and helping people become a better version of themselves. And so, me, myself, personally, I have been through therapy myself. I'm an advocate of therapy. I went for 2 years straight because I felt like it was something within me that I needed to heal about myself. A lot of people have experienced childhood trauma, traumatic experiences that has shaped our mind and caused us to be and respond and react in the way that we are now, because of things that we have experienced in the past. And so I knew personally that I needed to, some issues that I wanted to heal from. So I decided myself, like, Nikki, you need to go and, talk these things out. I knew I didn't need no medicine. I knew I just needed to get to the root cause of my situation. And, once you chop the tree down at the root, then it won't no longer grow, So I myself decided that I wanted to go and basically go through the process of healing for my past and my childhood traumas. And so, yeah, with that being said, yeah, so tonight I'm here to basically talk about a topic which I think is very important that we don't talk about a lot in our community, that we don't address, and it's emotional intelligence. So yeah, Mr. Jones, that's just an intro. I'm just gonna, let you go and,
Okay, well, to start off, appreciate the information, appreciate you sharing. I guess I would start off with this here because I like to start with the foundation. I like to build foundations first. So, in the way of building a foundation, I would like for you to give me based on your expertise, what your definition of emotional intelligence is.
Okay. So my definition of emotional intelligence is, I'm gonna just read the definition, okay? So
That's fine.
the emotional intelligence is the ability to identify your own emotions and the emotions of others, and to be able to use that information to guide your own behavior. Again, it is the ability to identify your own emotions and the emotions of others, and to be able to use that information to guide your behavior.
Okay, so I'm going to use the rim of a union or a relationship or something of that nature. I'm going to give you multiple examples, but that's the first one I would like to start with. You're saying that you identify your emotions and your significant other, because we're starting off with relationships, emotions, and use that as a guide to determine what your actions is from that point on. So if your significant other comes to you and says, or you observe that what something that's going on makes them uncomfortable, which you at this point, based on that, you're saying that they supposed or one should or would be great or good to, because I don't want to speak for nobody else. That one should craft their if they see it's affecting a person that they're dealing with, what that they should at that point try to craft their emotions or not the emotion, their actions to one where it's not offensive or hurtful to the individual that they're in this union with.
Yes.
Is that what you're saying?
Yes, exactly. So basically, you want to pay attention to what you're feeling because you can't control nobody but yourself.
Right.
So the most important thing is pay attention to what you're feeling. And sometimes you have to ask yourself, like, why am I feeling like this? I mean, like you say, you're in a relationship, you may be having a disagreement with your significant other. They may be emotional, you may be emotional. So sometimes you just have to pause and pay attention to what you're feeling first in order for you to be able to understand what your significant other is trying to relay to you. Because a lot of times, when you're emotional, you frustrated, nobody's really listening to the other person. They're just basically expressing themselves, trying to get their point across instead of actually listening to what the other person is saying. So once you get emotional, you get, excited and just heated in maybe in the argument in the situation. You have the emotional intelligent part of you have to just take a break and say, wait a minute, what am I feeling right now? And so, okay, I'm feeling frustrated, and this is the reason why I'm feeling this. Okay, so, okay, can you explain to me what your feelings are and why you're feeling like that? So you have to be able to understand what you're feeling and also be able to listen to the person that is explaining you how they feel. And so therefore you will be able to kind of better understand, and better be able to resolve the conflict.
So the objective should be to resolve whatever is at hand.
Mhm.
And the things that you're saying, it gives me a few key components in doing so.
Mhm.
One, there must be some listening, some processing, some listening.
Yeah.
And I've learned that a lot of times that's difficult for some people because we are self-learned on what we're crafting a response while you're talking.
Ooh,
You know, so really we miss
mhm.
what it is that's being conveyed to us because we didn't tune out what's being said in order to formulate a response back to that. I've seen that happen a lot. Also, the second component is, you must remain calm.
Mhm.
You must um you must stay at the point where you do not trigger anything for whoever you're with, because there are things that actions or faces or the way you raise your voice and all that type of stuff there that triggers the conversation to go to a different level that it's not really meant to go or it shouldn't go.
Mhm.
But before I go on, I want to go back and go to the first one, the part of listening and not formulating a response
Mhm.
before you actually hear the person completely out. Do you encounter people? I guess my question to you is: have you encountered in your life coaching? Have you encountered many people that are looking at their belief system, and belief systems are based on our personal experiences, what we have learned through our life and what we have done through our life? That when they hear something that goes against their belief system, they're formulating a response. Have you encountered those type of people often, which to me, which is the breakdown in communication when they're doing that?
Yes, I have. Not even with other people, within myself. I didn't saw it within myself. We have to be honest. We all have emotional responses that may not be as intelligent as others. So, yeah, I'm reminded of something, a quote that says that it's not what happens to you, but it's how you respond to it. So as you're in this confrontation or situation, And like you say, you already formulating your own ideas, your own opinion about what you're going to say next and how you're going to respond and get your part across. It's kind of like you have to let that ego go, because the ego wants you to be right all the time. And when you're in the process of trying to prove your point, you're not really listening to what the person is saying. You're not really paying attention to what they're trying to relay to you, and vice versa. You know, they may be not even paying attention to what you're saying. So it's it's like you say, you do have to take a moment and pause and pay attention to what you're feeling, because you are the one that's in control of you. And you cannot control somebody else's response, but you sure can control yours. And so when negativity is just coming and the energy is just coming and coming, it's up to you to change that frequency, because negativity has to bow down in the presence of positivity if you allow it. Light, the darkness has to flee in the presence of the light. So what you have to do is, what are you going to decide to do in this situation? Because it all goes back to you controlling yourself and your emotions, and being able to just understand, or be able to deal with whatever the next person is trying to say.
You know, I have a Miss J Love on here. First, I had Sandra McClure. I can't pronounce her name. Please forgive me for messing up your name. And she's saying communication and listening are key in any relationship, which is true. And then Miss J Love out of Detroit, she made a comment. She said it's a matter of perspective. Not everyone is where you are. That's correct. Everyone is not on the same wavelength, and everybody don't know the same information. You know, so I may have experienced something different than you have experienced, Ms. Foster. So when I come to you, you know, if I'm in a relationship with someone, it's about building. And it's not only about building myself, it's about building the whole relationship as a whole, whether it be kids, whatever it may be, the wife, whatever. Everybody's a part of this formula, you know. So, you know, what has to happen in order for it to be a healthy relationship is that we have to first understand that it's not about, and no one is attempting to put the other one down. There's no one that's saying, hey, I'm smarter than you or I'm better than you. It's just that we're giving, as Miss Love said, different perspectives in how we see things. We can both be looking at the same picture standing side by side. But in all honesty, you are seeing it from a different angle than I'm seeing it. So when I say explain what you're seeing, it's going to be something different than what I'm saying. You know, we have to understand that, you know, just because we have different perspectives don't mean that no one's right, no one's wrong. It's about coming up with the best perspective and doing it. And I think that that's difficult to do. And I'm asking the question I'm going to ask you a question after I say this, but I think it's difficult to do when you have a person that have done something all of their life a certain way. And now you're coming and you're saying, hey, look at it from this perspective, do it a different way. You know, I think that in some way people can perceive that as being challenging, you know, so they go kind of on the defensive. I personally feel, and I have a practice of, I don't want to talk to you when we both get upset, because neither one of us are listening, you know, so I'll walk away and then come back at a later time. But my question to you is, how have you gotten through to individuals that have that has a different perspective, and it is adamant about giving their perspective or holding on to their perspective opposed to accepting something different?
Yeah. Like you were saying, the person was saying earlier, everybody is not at the same level as you for as emotional wise. Some people, you know, like their past experience, their past traumas, what they have experienced has formed their perspective on certain subjects. So you have to know what triggers you and what may trigger the other person. So some things are just sensitive subjects that don't need to be addressed at the time. Or like you say, you don't want to just you don't want to talk about things when you know this is not the ideal time to bring up this topic and talk about it. You know, so this may be a sensitive subject to this person. And when you're in a relationship with somebody, you have to learn how they communicate. their perspective is different from yours because, you know, we're two different people, but you have to learn each other's communication style. So that's that's up to you to want to learn how this person communicates. And so by having the understanding of this person may not be where I am, you know, for as like emotionally wise, they may not be able to handle certain things and certain topics that, you know, I want to talk about at this moment. So you have to just be wise enough to analyze what's going on at that given time, because every situation is different. Some people can just come and sit down and just have a conversation and say, hey, this is how I'm feeling, and what are you feeling? And then some people, you know, are not able to communicate without getting emotional and angry and sometimes rage, you know, getting into type of a rage state because they're trying to express how they feel versus listening and being able to communicate with the other person. So it's hard. It's very hard when when you're trying to tell someone something and you may be right or they may be right, but everybody has a different perspective. So what you have to do is you have to learn how that person communicates. That's the only way you're going to be able to understand them better. Learn how they respond, learn what triggers them, what may be a sensitive topic that shouldn't be discussed right now. Because I know if I talk about this, like if somebody's upset and you tell them to calm down, that might just get them crazy. I know I didn't like nobody tell me I'm all upset and then you tell me to calm down. You know, you don't tell me that. You know, that may be a trigger that blows somebody up even more, you know. And so I think when we in arguments, we know what's going on. Because I know when I'm in an argument, I know what's going on. And it's like that feeling that you get to where you want to be right and you want to just, you know, you want this person to understand what you're trying to say or whatever. But when you feeling that feeling, you have to just pay attention to yourself. Okay. And another part, you have to become self-aware of your emotions and what you're doing at the present moment.
You know, I think that I have I have been in conversations or been in situations where like, let me say it this way, like Mr. Clifton out, I'm not sure if I shared it with you before or not, but I was incarcerated as well. And people when people get upset, I had, you know, guys that I would consider friends of mine that get upset with another gentleman and they may go back and forth and I'll take him away from it. But somebody may say, man, go ahead on and talk to him. And I'll tell them, hey, he ain't gonna hear nothing right now. He need to calm down. You know, so until he hears, you know, he's at a point where he's ready to receive some conversation. Ain't no sense of me going over there and doing as you saying, making the situation worse. You know, because the only thing I can tell him at that moment while he's upset is calm down. And as you say, there's different triggers for different people. But at the same time, we have to, I agree, we have to find the way that the other person communicates. You know, but I want to share this with you. Sometimes it's difficult finding that the way the other person communicates. I've been told by my brother, Mr. Arthur Jones, that, you know, you have to find out what language a person is speaking, because one word may mean something to me and it may mean something totally different to you. You know, so I go into conversations trying to consider that, you know, but, you know, one of the things that I also see is that a lot of people, because their belief systems are so strong, you know, and they've been doing, making it and doing it on, you know, for so many years, it's difficult to effectively communicate with them to a point where they're open-minded to look at it from a different perspective. You know, I think that that's one of the biggest challenges that you're going to have, or we face, when individuals are coming home from prison, or people that's on the outside that's been out, you know, that's been in relationships or whatever. You know, they have formed their own belief system. You know, so, and then throw on the top of that, then I'm grown. You know, so who are you to tell me that I've been doing something wrong all this time? And those, you know, with that in mind, you know, I'm trying to figure out, how do we, do you have any suggestions on how do we penetrate a person like that, or try to find, or what's the best way to communicate with them then? And you have any advice on that? Let me say it that way.
Wow. I mean, yeah, when it comes to people and their perspective, it may be hard to change at the moment. You know, when you're trying to just deliver a message to somebody or communicate something to someone, at that time, they may not be open to hear what you got to say. And so if you see that they're not open to hear what you got to say, maybe you need to take a break. Like you said, you step away. This brother's not ready to hear what I have to say to him right now. So you sometimes you have to take a break, or maybe, calm down and then go back and revisit the topic once, everybody is more open to receive. Now, when you in prison, it's a whole nother level. I've never been to prison before, but I'm pretty sure, it's totally different for us, like dealing with your, significant other, relationship. But my advice to anyone, if you see that the conversation is not going anywhere, or nobody's really listening to what you got to say, you might need to just cut the conversation and walk away. Go take a break, take a deep breath, and pay attention to yourself. It goes back to you, because you can't control nobody else but you. You know what I mean? And so we are the ones that are feeling what we're feeling, our emotional states, because it's us that's feeling it. So sometimes you just may not be able to get that, your opinion or your perspective, over to this person at that given time. So you may just need to just, take a break and walk away, and just, come back and revisit it once, you feel like people are open to receive, the communication with each other.
That's a great practice. But we know we can't, it's not a one size fit all. Mm-hmm. So we still have to be creative in the way of how to learn a person's language. Miss J Love from Detroit commented on Facebook, and she's saying you meet people where they are. Mm-hmm. Can you expound? Would you care to expound on that before I go? She said that she feels that it's good for people to meet people where they are, meaning go on their level, so to speak. You care to expound on that?
Yeah, so meeting people where they are is basically understanding, goes back to the definition, being able to understand others' people emotions as well. So some people may not be as emotionally intelligent as you are. So going back to analyzing the person that you're trying to communicate with, and realizing, hey, this person, this is how they respond every time something comes up. They may respond in a negative way, or in a agitated or frustrated way. So you have to know that this is how this person acts. So what I have to do is, I have to consciously within myself say, hey, I'm gonna have to deal with, I'm just making up a name, I'm gonna have to deal with Fred on Fred's level, and talk to Fred the way Fred communicates. It may not be good. It may be negative. But if you coming with a solution and Fred is not trying to hear that, then what you have to do is say, okay, this is how Fred is, and this is how he communicates based off of what his experience and stuff like that. And so it's hard dealing with people. It's not easy. So it's not like a one-time solution of what you can do. Everybody has to be open to want to solve the issue. Some people don't want to solve the issue. Some people just like to argue. Some people just like to continue on with the problem and never try to come with a solution. So, and when you recognize that's where that person is, then you have to make a conscious decision, just to step back and say, well, they're not open to hear. They're not open for solutions. They right now, they just want to continue being in the state that they're in. And so you have to allow them. You have to allow anyone to be and do whatever they choose to do. And it goes back to you being able to control yourself, and you can't control somebody else. You can meet them on their level, but at the end of the day, you can't change them. You can't make them understand. You can't make them communicate the way that you want to communicate.
Okay, I'm going to let Miss Harris speak, but I want to read a comment. Miss J Love pretty much touched on what you just said, so I'm not going to read her comment. But we have Miss Sarah Scott that's on the panel, and she said, as a therapist, I do a lot of work with clients, EL work with clients. There becomes a moment of self-awakening and awareness when someone starts learning their own style. I don't even, style and helps with conflict resolution. Um, of course, it comes, at some point in everyone's life, they're going to say, okay, they're going to get to a point where they want to say, hey, I'm sick and tired of being the way this is, and this is not working. Let me try something different. I get that. I understand that. But when you, I'm going to ask you this, and I'll ask you it again because I'm going to let Ms. Harris speak. But, I understand what everybody's saying that, it's difficult. Let me say it this way. It's difficult for individuals that's trying to help people or want to see people grow, whether it be your child, be significant other, be a friend, you want to see them grow when they're going down the path that is not a great path to go down, and how that's going to end. We all want anybody in our life, or we should, and I think I can say this for everybody on this panel. We want everybody in our life to grow. We want everybody in our life to be better than what they were when we first entered their life. And vice versa, because we're going to learn from each other. It's not a one-way teaching. But I'm understanding what y'all are saying as far as meeting people on their will, but it's hard and difficult to say, okay, well, they're not ready to learn right now, especially if they're in your everyday world. I want you to think about that, Miss Foster, and I'm going to let Miss Harris, because she had her hand up for a while. Yeah, there you go.
Hey, thank you guys for giving me an opportunity. As you guys was discussing, you had a question. I can't quite remember the question, but I'm big on examples. First of all, with being a life coach, I kind of looked at that position as something as, oh, you sitting at a desk or you meeting at a place and you're going over life skills with a person. Ms. Foster has a unique skill to where she leads by example. So I'm going to use the example. She came into my home. I said 2 or 3 words to her, and it was something that clicked with her. She said, well, I think you need to change your space. She took out time. She came in and she was helping me reorganize my space. So when we're talking about when we're faced with challenges, at the time that she was doing this, I had kids that I have grandkids. And so my kids knew what I was doing, but they just so used to coming here to my house and we reorganizing things. And I was at a level of, I'm frustrated with the kids. So she was able to take that example. I think she saw my frustration. She also saw the need that some kind of way her kids are used to being around her. They don't get this. And in the process, as I was getting frustrated, she just stepped in. Oh, I'll do this. I'll move around this. And if you're willing to, or you want to change your situation, something just clicked within myself and said, okay, she's trying to change the situation. She's here to do a job. So let me humble myself and look at what I'm feeling at this moment to make this situation go forward. Because the end result was she wanted to come in, she had an assignment, and she was not going to let my frustration, my children, or whatever went on stop her assignment. So I think a piece of it is, I do agree, when we deal and we talk about emotional intelligence, it is something within that person that has to want to change or want to redirect themselves when they're faced with certain situations. So I just wanted to add that.
All right. I want to read 2 comments, and then I'm going to go back to that question, Miss Foster. First comment is from Miss Love again. I wish she was on the show because she has some great questions or comments. She said, "We are not here to force our opinions on someone. We are here to get them to think. We all have our own journey." I agree with that. Would you like to expound on that, Miss Foster?
I mean, yeah, we all have our own journey. And that goes back to what I was saying, is it starts with self. being self-aware of who you are and your journey that you're on. You can't change nobody else, but you can change yourself. But you have to be open to change. See, when I noticed within myself that I had an issue with responding with anger, getting upset when I'm having conversations with people, I knew it was something that was going on. So I'm like, why am I like this? I'm having a disagreement with my mom, and she like, yo, you don't even know how to let things go. And so one day I was having a conversation and we got into a disagreement, and I saw myself just, I'm telling you, when you arguing with somebody, it's like it's something being fed. Like the energy is feeding off of each other. Like their negative energy is feeding off your negative energy. And if somebody don't jump off that boat and say, I'm not gonna keep sailing down this negative path, then you guys can end up to God knows where. So, but within myself, I had to come to the realization that I wanted to change. I want to be able to have a conversation with somebody and let them be able to express how they feel, and me sit back and listen to what they're saying, and also be able to relay what my point, and not just not hear anything what they're saying because I'm so upset and I can't calm down and I'm in such a rage to where, I'm not even hearing anything. So everybody's on their own journey. Some people want to be the devil, quote unquote. They want to stay in their negativity, and people choose to be that. So what are you going to do? It all goes back to self. It's hard to kind of control somebody else. It's hard to try to make people change. But I guarantee you, if they see that change in you, something is going, maybe one day the light is going to come on in them. And they're going to say, well, you know what? She used to be going off. She used to, boy, you used to couldn't even talk to her. But now she didn't change. Her whole attitude is more peaceful now. And now I'm able to communicate with her on a more positive level, So change starts with you. You can't change nobody else. And on your journey, where are you going on your path? Are you going to be the light, or are you going to continue to walk in that darkness? Everybody has light and darkness in us, but are you going to let that darkness amplify and snuff out your light and snuff out everybody else's light that come in your path because you're such a negative person and you don't want to, change? It all starts with you, because you can't change nobody else. Everybody has their own journey that they're on. But I guarantee you, if you make a conscious decision that you want to change, it's not easy, but it starts from there. Making the conscious decision that I want to be able to be emotionally intelligent with my response. I want to be able to be open to listen to what other people have to say. I don't want my relationship to go down to nothing. I don't want to divorce my spouse because we can't even talk about things, simple things, and I guarantee you, if you decide to change, then maybe the other person will. But like she said, lead by example. They got to see what you're doing. But if you go ahead.
I definitely agree with you. I see your hand, Miss Riley. Give me 1 second. I want to read a comment and I want to say what she's saying. I want to piggyback on what you're saying, Mr. Jones, the other Mr. Jones. He said some people don't want solutions, just want to argue.
Some people want
yeah, what he's saying. Some people just they don't want to change the situation. They're comfortable where they're at. I've learned that life is a cycle, and some people have been in the cycle for so long that they have become comfortable in that cycle. So when you're taking them out and say, hey, hold on, and trying to pull them out of the cycle and showing something different, they're wanting to go back to what they're comfortable with, what they've been knowing and what they've been doing for 20 years, 30 years, or however long they've been doing it. So I definitely agree with that. We have to keep that in mind, that some people don't want to change. They want to stay where they are. When that happens, we have to ask ourselves, like you're saying, because it's it starts with self. Mm-hmm. What are we going to do about it? How do we deal with this here? Because, as you said, I can't. I'm not trying to control nobody. That's the first thing. You know, I'm only trying to help a person grow and give some information that I may have learned throughout my life or through my journey of life. Let me say it that way. And so by me not trying to control you, I'm not trying to go back and forth with you every time I bring something to you. You know, that's another thing, because that's negative energy. And I'm not saying the person is negative. I'm just saying the energy is negative. And that is draining. So the question is, and I'm going to ask you this, but I'm going to also let Miss Riley speak, because she had her hand up for a while. Question is, when you realize that they are where they are, and you say, okay, well, you're not ready for this at this point here, but then that stagnates you, because it's stagnating you because it stagnates the process. I'm not just going to say you, it stagnates the process or the relationship, because it's about building, it's about growing. Two people come together to grow, to establish something, to build something, and if one of us is just sitting still, then both of us are sitting still. So with that, I want to go ahead on to Miss Riley, and then I'm gonna let you comment on that, Miss Foster. Go ahead, Miss Riley.
I want to start out by saying I love everything you are saying. I hate that I'm in Ohio and you're not here, but I just love everything you're saying. And I'm sitting here thinking, even though you've not been in prison, but everything you're saying applies to a person that when we get on the phone and you're having that disagreement and then it shuts off, so you got to be able to control yourself and your emotions. And then you're right, it all boils down to changing who you are, and who do you want to be. So I really didn't have a question. I'm just jumping through my skin because I'm loving it. I'm loving what you're saying, because I know that, as a woman that has a loved one that's incarcerated, I'm going to go back and listen to this a couple of times for sure. So thank you. So many women, and I'm sure men, and I don't want to be biased, but you're helping. So thank you with that.
Thank you. Yes, ma'am.
Thank you, Miss Riley. So I left off Miss Foster at when you realize that a person is not ready to move forward in life, and you are in a union with them. Then what do we do? Because it kind of stagnates the relationship. It's like y'all at a standstill, and for some of us, for some people, it's about growth. I'm a person that I like action. I like results. I like to do things like that there. And I say that because for 20 years, Miss Foster, over 20 years, this is what I did to get through prison. Every day I got up and accomplished something. I went to different type of classes. Everything they had to offer, I took in the prisons I was at. And when I depleted those resources, then I started doing correspondence courses and other things. So now to come home and just sit still, I'm not used to that. That's just like a person that works all their life and now they just, they retire and they ain't got nothing to do, and they sitting there and they twirling their thumbs. They go crazy. But go ahead, Miss Foster.
So basically, you saying, what do you do when you realize that? What was the question again?
The relationship. At this point, there's someone in the relationship that is holding on to their belief system and is not willing to grow or go further or look at it from a different perspective. Because you don't have to just adopt my perspective. Adopt a different perspective. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? Because just analyze it and come up with something different than what you're doing, because maybe what you're doing is not conducive for the relationship of growing. So what do you do when you realize that a person is not at a point where they're ready to grow?
Wow, that's a good question. Man, when you come to that realization, I tell people all the time, have you done everything that you can do? Can you really say I done did everything? I tell people, like, they come to me like, well, my relationship is not working out. She's not listening, or he's not listening. Have you done everything that you can do? See, when you go all the way out on the limb, even though this person ain't receiving what you're doing, when the time comes for you to walk away, you can actually walk away in a good conscience because you know I done did all I can do. But see, some people ain't did all they can do. They just talking about it. You know what I'm saying? Go all the way out. If you're in a relationship and this person, mistreat you, treat them good. Do everything you can do. Because when you realize in the end that this is not gonna work, you can walk away in a good conscience knowing that I done did everything I can do to make this work. But you have to go all the way out with it. You can't just give up. People just want to give up. He don't like chicken and I like steak. Little simple things like that. You know what I mean? You have to be able to compromise and be able to relay what it is that you're trying to do, where are you trying to grow, how far are you trying to go in life. And if you get to that situation that this person is not going where I want them to go, then you have to make a decision in your life what you gonna do.
Okay, I understand what you're saying, but I want to use some different words, and then I'm going to read some comments, Miss Foster, because you got all type of sideline conversations jumping off. Great information. Now I want you to know that. Boy, they over here typing up something over here on the chat and on Facebook, But I want to say that I try not to use the singular words, especially if I'm in a relationship. When you say, hey, then you have to make a decision. I'm trying to, we need to make a decision. We need to come to an understanding. So I try to stay away from the word, but I definitely understand what you're saying. Now let me go back to read some of these comments. It said it is important to know that the stage of change a person is in. Some people are in pre-contemplative stage and do not see there is a problem. It does not mean to step away. You have to meet them where they are and respond with agape love and understanding. I get that. And I understand that. And there's no question there's love, because somebody I don't care about, I don't care if you grow or not. I want to see everybody, in a peaceful state and doing well. But I'm not going to put the same amount of energy in for somebody I don't know that I'm going to put in for the energy, and I'm going to put in for somebody I do know. I also want Ms. Harris to know that Ms. Scott is on this panel, and if you want her to speak, then you can ask her to speak because she's making some great points. I just want to point out to I see that I don't know, she's the lady with the maroon shirt.
Yes, Miss Sarah Scott and Miss Obama, they got some good points, and I just wish even if they don't come live, if they can just add their comments. I think it's just some great points that they put in the chat.
I agree, and that's why I like to read, or I try to read the chats, because everybody's not comfortable with being coming on live, But let me go back to the comments. One person can't be doing all the work and the only one growing. That's not healthy, and should be mentality and be mentality considered to see if a future is what both people want, because if we had prior broadcast where we were saying that relationships are work and it requires both people to work and not just one person, and I understand that sometimes some people look at it like, hey, you're not going to control me, you're not my daddy, or you're not my mama. We come up with those type of scenarios when the growth topic is being brought to them. And I see you have your hand up, Nicholas Brandon. I see your hand up. I'm going to get to you in a second. I'm just going through the comments. I understand that, but again, we both have to be on the same page where we just say, hey, I just want to grow. All I want to do with my fiance is just grow and love her. That's all I want to do, and if I'm wrong, I can accept constructive criticism. If you come to me and say, hey, I don't like this and I feel like you need to do this, or whatever the case may be, I can accept that. You see what I'm saying? And maybe I'm wrong because I'm in a position in my life, and I'm learning this, that because I'm in a position of where I'm on my journey where I'm accepted the constructive criticism, and people point things out to me doesn't mean that everybody else or my fiance is at that same point of the journey that I'm at. I don't even know who this is. Oh, that's Mr. X-Team. He says one must know that when he or she change, there will be positive results. If not, why change? I definitely agree with that. Change is for a better result. You know, um, so with that, let me go over here now. Let me go to this comment over here. You got me jumping. I ain't worked this hard, Miss Boston, in a long time. I should charge. I'm gonna send you an invoice. It said, yes, you have to honor yourself. Set up boundaries as well. Boundaries are important. You can't help others when you dishonor yourself or allow others to dishonor you. That's where the boundaries come in at. You can't fix everyone. This is a true statement. That's the ego that makes you think you can fix someone. The only person you can fix is you. Work on you. That's Miss Love. Miss Love, we ain't going for that no more. Next week we need to see you, Miss Love. Be honest with you. All right. Appreciate your comments, Miss Love. They're always great. Brandon, can you unmute yourself and have your comment?
Yeah, see, I have a question. See, I'm a strong-minded person, and I'm gonna speak what I want to speak. So how do I, in other words, dummy it down so I'm not as aggressive when I do speak? Because there's a lot of people that are like that.
So I'm like that too. So I have to kind of control my pitch, my tone.
Right.
So you have to watch your tone. Watch how you are coming across, how you are delivering your message. You have to think about, you have to be able to listen to what the other person is saying. See, a lot of times when we are in disagreements, we're not even listening. We're formulating what we're going to say about what they got to say, and when you are, have like a dominant personality, and people may be like, well, he's kind of like, rough around the edges when he deliver his message or try to communicate. You pay attention to your tone. Pay attention to how you speaking to this person. Watch how you are delivering what you're saying. And if you become self-aware of that, then you'll be able to express yourself more to where the person will be more open to receive what you got to say. Watch what you're saying.
Oh, okay.
Watch your tone. Watch how you're delivering it to them. The tone is a big factor, because you could just be trying to communicate, something just simple and easy, but the way you saying it, your tone, the way you delivering it, that can make somebody shut down and feel like you're being offensive.
I also want to add, because Mr.
but-
Kevin Hayes said this, and I think it's important. A lot of people, Mr. Hayes says, Haynes, I believe his name is Haynes. Kevin Haynes said that you have to watch your facial expressions, because but I would add on to that and say your tone, your facial expressions, as well as your body language, because when body language is important, because if people watch things, because if you're talking to me and you put that left leg back, I'm preparing myself for war. You know what I'm saying? Because that's the fighter stance. If you're talking to me and you balling up your fist, or balling up your face, I'm gonna tell you, hey, I think I might need to get off first before they get off. So your body language, as we know, means a lot. And Brandon, Brandon's a gentleman that was also incarcerated with me. And Brandon, we know that that body language means a lot. We know that tone. And I watch you go speak to people and cuff your hands in front of you, which is a peaceful posture to let them know, hey, I'm coming in peace. Don't mean I won't go to war, but I'm coming in peace because I'm trying to get an understanding. So, what she's saying is basically, I agree with everyone is saying, which is, you have to watch how you, how your facial expressions, your tone, and your body language, because that's the trigger for me. I still have to work on that. Where if you ball your face up, and all that, then that ego kick in and say, well, who he think or who she think, that goes into play. You see what I'm saying? And then now I'm going to get more, I'm going to surpass your aggression or whatever it is you gave me. You see what I'm saying? And nothing gets accomplished, so I definitely agree with that.
Yeah, it's because being in an environment where it is highly aggressive, it just sometimes, even though somebody's not trying to be offensive, it automatically, when I say I'm trying to be a better person, and sometimes I take the threat I came from versus a non-threat right now, and that's what it becomes. It becomes automatically, mentally, it becomes a threat when it's not. It's not even, it's something we're really supposed to brush off our shoulders, but being in a different type of environment than what we're used to, right? What this is, it's like, I'm just trying to be better. Basically, I'm trying to be better for my wife. You know what I mean? Because I know a lot of times she'll say something not aggressively, but I might take it a little wrong. And then all of a sudden it's like, I slip back to a whole different person, or the other person versus what it is right now, what it's supposed to be. And that was the whole reason of that question.
Yeah.
I want to say this, Brandon, that then I'm going to let Miss Foster comment. That it goes back to what she was saying earlier about understanding each person's language, the language they're speaking. Understanding the person that you're talking to, that you're dealing with. And pointing out to them, hey, this, in a respectful way. When you do this, this is how I feel. If they balling their face up and they balling their fist up, I'm gonna let them know, hey, when you do that, I'm feeling like you finna try to tell them stupid. So I appreciate it if you don't do that when you're talking to me. Put your hands in your pocket. Let's make each other comfortable. Put your hands in your pocket. But that definitely is something that we have to pay attention to. And I'm not good at it. I'm still that way because I realize I don't have the anger, but I have a quick 0 to 60. When something happened. But how do I expect them not to do it if I'm doing it? Ms. Foster, you have something you want to say?
Valentine's.
What day is it? Who are you supposed to be spending the day with?
You was asleep, man.
Ms. Foster, you have something you want to say?
Okay, I heard somebody in the background.
Yeah, they talking to each other, so I'm muting it.
So another important thing too, we have to pay attention to what our thoughts at that given moment, because we can get lost in the storylines in our own head. And you talking to your wife, which may not even be a threat to you, but then in your mind, you're thinking that she is. So our minds, the battlefield is really in the mind. And you can go on a whole nother, you can go to China and back in your own mind, and you still right there in your living room. So you have to pay attention to your thoughts. What are you thinking? You have to pay attention to whether that ego is rising up. When you dealing from the ego perspective, then you're thinking about yourself. You're not thinking about the other person. And so it's important to pay attention to what you're thinking. Pay attention to your thought. Become self-aware of what you're thinking right now. You know what I mean? And when those negative thoughts keep coming, because like I said, when you're in an argument or disagreement, it's a feeling that you get. I don't know about everybody else, but it's a feeling that you want to keep that negativity, want to just feed off negativity, just keep on with the confrontation, keep on with the argument. So you have to step back and become self-aware of yourself. Like, wait a minute now. let me stop this. Let me just take a break, calm down, take some deep breaths, because what I'm thinking is not actually what's happening. This person is not really trying to harm me. They're just trying to communicate how they're feeling right now, and get out of your mind and get and come out of those storylines that's in your own head a lot of times. But that's where the different perspectives come in with our different thoughts and what we're thinking. So I feel like you need to pay attention to what your thoughts. It says, as a man thinketh, so is he. So pay attention to what you're thinking during that emotional state, and also pay attention to what they're trying to relay to you, and then maybe you can be more able to communicate and come to a resolution of whatever the conflict may be.
Miss Sarah Scott, let me find you. I'm glad that you unmute yourself, Miss Scott. Go ahead. How you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm great.
This is an amazing topic. One of my favorite topics is emotional intelligence. And it took me a little while to learn my own style. And I have a very dominant personality myself. And recently I had an awakening because I have engaged in conflict resolution as a trainer. And what was said to me during the training was, when you're in a conversation with somebody, take a step back and ask yourself 3 things. When you want to respond, does it have to be said by me? Does it have to be said right now? And actually, I gave the first one. That's the third one. Does this have to be said? Does it have to be said right now? And does it have to be said by me? And if you could take a step back and really take a look at what you're trying to portray, do you really have to, or can you take a step back and listen and not respond?
I think there's a work in progress for everybody involved, Ms. Scott.
Everybody.
Because, everybody wants to get their point across.
Mm-hmm.
And, nobody wants to, I'm not going to say give the last, not be the person to give the last word, but you have 2 strong people, or 2 people that have 2 different perspectives that have been working for them for how many ever years, so that being the case, it's kind of difficult and it needs to happen. It needs to happen, but I think it's difficult for us to stop at that moment and say, okay, this is where we are. I'm realizing through this here, you have to have a great deal of patience when you are in this field, because sometimes people don't see it when you see it, so you have to be patient with them to eventually one day see it. It's the same thing as that cliche. You plant a seed and watch it grow. You tell a person something, you just plant the seed, I'm gonna watch it grow. We want them to go as quick as possible. John had said something on the chat that I agree with, and I wanted to make sure I share, which is said that you have to reciprocate the energy in the I'm paraphrasing because I don't know where it's at, John, please forgive me. Always actions must be reciprocated. In other words, treat people the way you want to be treated. A mutual respect for one another. I did find it. So, to me, I believe in, like I said at the beginning of the show, the foundation. And I'm not knocking nobody's religion, but I'm just going to tell you something that with my foundation, this is what works for me. And I'm not saying it as to be a chauvinist or be biased or nothing, but I've learned that, men are supposed to treat women as if they are this, as they treat themselves, so I have no business yelling. I have no business doing no aggressive action towards you or vice versa, so, if we are working as a team and we're trying to do what's best for each other, then it should always be something, the action should show that. Let me say that the action should show that. It should never be an action where, it's perceived as if it's about self, even though it starts with self. Now that we are a team, we are codependent, we are joint, we have merged, so it can never be a self in those things, so I just wanted to say that. I'm trying to find something else that somebody else said, but I don't know where is that. It says, Miss Stephanie, appreciate your comment. She says, what do you do when someone tells you they want to work on it, but won't talk to you? How long do you hold on when do you they are just done? I'm asking you that, Miss Foster, or anybody else that may want to comment.
Okay, you say that again, Mr. Jones?
They said, what do you do when someone tells you they want to work on it, but they won't talk to you? They're saying, how long do you hold on before you just say, hey, they're not sincere about what they want, are working on it. They're not sincere working on it. They just giving lip service.
I mean, if you saying that you want to work on something, then how you going to work on it if you're not open to communicate about the situation? So evidently, that person is not ready to work on it because they're not open to communicate with you what it is that you guys can come up with for a solution wise, maybe to resolve this issue. Sometimes people need a couple of days to, let steam, get off some steam, and we can talk about it, in a little while. But if you walking around the house and it's been 5 days and y'all still ain't talking, that's the ego. That's you being selfish, they being selfish. So evidently you ain't trying to work on this. Because why? You ain't even trying to communicate about it. Because how you going to work on something and you're not even willing to express how you feeling about it? So I can't say how long you should wait, but if you guys are in the same house, like the scripture says, don't let the sun go down on your wrath, and you letting the sun go down 5 or 6 days, then somebody needs to sit down and say, hey, let's talk about this. If we're going to stay in the same house and we're going to be in this relationship with each other, we need to talk about this. I done gave you a few days to think about it, to calm down or whatever. Now it's time for us to come together and come up with a solution on how we can move forward. See, you can't move forward, keep dwelling on the past, argument y'all had 5 days ago. That's the past. What you gonna do today? Are you gonna come to a resolution about that situation by coming together and communicating and coming up with solutions? Or are you gonna remain in that argument y'all had 5 days ago? So it's up to you to decide that you want to change this situation.
I'm gonna read this comment, and then I got this guy that I've been letting him sit back and chill and all that stuff. There, I hope he didn't think he got away because he's next. But I'm gonna read this comment first, right? The comment is from John. It says, even though your partner is not willing to work on what you agreed upon to do, it doesn't stop you from working on it.
Okay.
But here's, hey, Jane.
Yes, sir. Go ahead.
Since you want me to chime in.
Yes, sir.
All seeds don't germinate at the same time. With that being said, I'm saying, everybody, especially when people get angry or mad and everything, sometimes some conversations don't warrant a response. Is it because it could be the person, I could be over it and they not over it, so I don't have to respond to it. I'm working on it. I was cool with what you said. Now what? So now why do we have to reiterate different things about it? But like I say, when you put seeds in the ground, all of them don't germinate at the same time. You see what I mean? So just say like all relationships are not about men and women either. You got different people that you got co-workers that you work with, men and women. So all relationships are not intimate relationships. That's what I think. I think that's what we kind of like put that in a tone, because like being incarcerated, when we had different groups, they only understand according to how they've been raised or how they have done times at other institutions. So when you speak for a large amount of people, you got to think people you represent, and you got to think for the people that you're going to talk to. So you got to be able to recognize that when you're them, they're already on the defense, especially if you are the stronger person. If they see you as sometimes, like when people, like we have problems on the yard or whatever, everything didn't warrant a response. You say what you had to say and that was it. It was like, no, you didn't need a comeback from somebody else. or if you gave them an ultimatum. But most of the time, the thing about you and I, that we meant what we said, and we always did what we said, good or bad. So we didn't have to raise our voice. Most of the time, you know, when a man raises his voice, then when people raise their voice, for instance, some people are naturally, how can I say it, overly aggressive when they try to talk or whatever. But I think that when people raise their voice, they're trying to get attention. Because me, I don't see any reason where a person, especially if two people, you know, say they love each other at no time, no matter how bad the situation is, that we should have to raise it. Because what I say, if I speak it in high depth or if I whisper I mean the same thing. You know what I mean? So I don't have to go to another saying, at whatever level of tone that I say it in, I mean the same thing. And so sometimes we as people, we take, let's just say like we did time with Brandon, we take his aggression when, you know, because he's just a naturally aggressive. If you didn't understand him, you would think that he's always going to cause a problem, or he's always going somewhere to be the aggressor, when that wasn't the case. It was just his personality. So sometimes we can't judge a person by how they necessarily deliver a message if we're not, because sometimes we look for an excuse not to receive that message that people are giving us. So it's a touchy line, like you say, like the thing that Sarah said is, does it have to be me that deliver this message? And do I have to deliver it right now? That's the same thing. You're right, Booster. Leading by example, you plant the seeds, words and deeds, you know. So I just think that if a person is in a house, if it's something that absolutely has to be discussed to where it was a point to where it's disrespectful and it depended on my relationship to go further, then we can discuss it. But if it was something that was kind of serious, but it wasn't enough for me to fall out of love, because the point is that, am I still going to be in a relationship, man and woman? Am I still going to be in love with this person? All right. If I don't get the answer that I want, can I still love this person and move on? So it's a matter of what you're going to do after you get the information from that person. A lot of people not willing to say that. Then a lot of people say things or idle threats in relationship, and we've seen it when men say, well, I'm gonna do this and I'm gonna do this, and when they have no intention. That's why a lot of women stay in bad relationships, because they always say what they're gonna do and they don't do it. They know they have no intention of leaving. It's just like an idle threat. So once a person sees that you make idle threats, then they don't care what you say to them. They're not gonna respond to you. They're gonna let you continue to be mad, because in their mind, you're glued to the relationship. You understand? So it's a lot of different scenarios that we've covered and talked about, but I just think that for me, I don't have to change decibels when I'm talking to somebody, man or woman, because I was going to do good or bad. You know what I mean? I said it in the same voice. You know, so and that's the thing. So I don't believe in aggressive nature, because an aggressive personality leads to conflict before you can begin to, because once somebody comes to me aggressive, I don't really want to hear what he said. Then I'm preparing. I'm like James. I'm preparing to my next move. It's like chess. I'm preparing my next move. You know what I mean? Because I already know that he got some BS on his mind, and he didn't really come here to get to the you know, men, like same way couples ought to respect couples, huh?
Nah, go ahead, brother. Go ahead.
So I mean, that's what I think. So I don't know, man. I just think that it's been a wealth of ton of great information from Jay, from Sarah, from you, Nikki, from Erica, you know, from Jessica, Eric, from James, and all the people from John, Esteen. You know, I just think it's just we have to find the right balance in a relationship and the right balance of communication. Even when we're being a life coach, we have to find the right balance with the person, because most of the time, nobody wants to see the man in the mirror or see themselves as being everybody wants to play the victim, up front. You know what I mean? Everybody have a victim mentality when they go to conflict. There's no acceptance of responsibility. That's the first thing. And sometimes we have to accept responsibility for the sake of the person we love, even though, even if you haven't done anything. My baby through some times where she accepted to move on when she hasn't done anything wrong. But we do stuff like that when we truly love somebody and we see a bigger future. We see the greater good in our relationship than, a lot of petty stuff. A lot of relationships have been ruined over small petty things that could have been avoided and resolved. You know what I mean? And so we let them fester and get bigger. I think so. That's all. But great information, Nikki, Sarah, Jay, everybody who's been on.
Hey, thank you, sir. Thank you. I wasn't gonna let you get away tonight, even though you were kind of going in and out. We'd rather hear something from you than hear nothing from you. You always got some good feedback. I want to read a comment, and then I want to let Ms. O'Banner, because she has her hand up. It says, this is from Mr. Jones. He said, I have been accused of that person who is still on the 5-day-old argument. My position is it's not done until it is resolved, or you have given me your position. So I'm guilty of that as well. I'm guilty of that as well, where something may have happened 2-3 days ago and we discussed it at that point and we didn't get anything resolved. We may have both got into our emotions and we didn't finish it. So we walked away. But I'm going to come back to it because, I feel like I'm the type of person, I don't like to have unfinished business, so I'll come back and say, okay, now let's go back to this. And then my fiance would tell me that happened 5 days ago. And I said, yeah, and I'm still on it. I still want to, I still want to answer, you remember, that's good because I still want to answer. And I'm glad I ain't got to go back over everything that happened. I am that person as well. But I think that we have to, at some point get it resolved. As you said, Ms. Foster, not let the sun go down on our wrath or whatnot. We have to get it resolved. Whether we agree to disagree or whatever the case may be, we have to get it resolved. Ms. O'Banner, can you unmute yourself, please? There you go. Yeah.
Absolutely. Good evening, everybody. I just wanted to comment briefly and say that, especially being an educator, one thing you learn quickly with dealing with children is that children often are what they live. You will often have exceptions to the rule, but children are what they live. And what do children grow up to be? Adults. And so sometimes you have adults who have lived in different situations and they've seen different examples of how to handle conflict, how to handle arguments, how to get their points across, what's acceptable, what's not acceptable. And when you get two people that come from two different backgrounds and they've seen how confrontation is handled in their own lives, and you have to then come together and merge, you have to then decide for yourself what your norms will be, what deal breakers there will be in the relationship when this form of communication is crossed, or I'm disrespected or feel disrespected in certain ways. You have two people have to come together and decide what's going to be the norm, what's going to be the tone for their relationship, what's acceptable. And a lot of times that takes a lot of work. And a lot of times two people have to step outside of themselves and say, okay, well, I may be accustomed to seeing this or handling things like this. And one person said they're accustomed to seeing things one way, but you have to find a way to meet in the middle where both people can be heard. And that can take a lot, and it will take a lot of change, especially if one way is extremely offensive to the other person, and if one person can be too passive. So both people have to constantly be committed to the work. But oftentimes how children come up and how they handle conflict, they grow into adults. And so when we come into contact with other adults, we have to merge those personalities and decide what's acceptable and what's not acceptable. We do it in personal relationships. We do it in romantic relationships. We have to decide at work the norms and what's acceptable in different settings is no different than our romantic relationships that we share with one another. There has to be a norm, and both people have to say what they feel and what is acceptable and what's not acceptable. And those same two people have to be committed to those type of communication skills with one another.
Thank you, Ms. Urbana. I was having a conversation with someone today, and we were speaking of boundaries. And I believe that's kind of pretty much what you're touching on when you're saying what's acceptable is not acceptable. Speaking of boundaries, and I think that the gist of all this is listening. The communication is listening, speaking in a non-confrontational manner, setting boundaries, and definitely being patient. It's the four things that I really got out of this. There's a lot of other things that I got out of this, but those four things are some of the key components that we need to do in order to effectively communicate with the other person. So I definitely agree with that. Miss Foster, I'm going to allow you to wish for you to take us out, give some last comments and everything. I'm going to be running down on time.
Okay. All right. This has been an awesome discussion tonight, and I have learned so much from you guys as well. That's what it's all about. When those conflicts comes up, sometimes you have to go and do some self-reflection, and you have to look yourself in the mirror and say, what can I learn from this situation? What is this situation trying to teach me about myself? It goes back to you learning what it is that you can do differently. And ask yourself, how can I grow from this? Dealing with people, romantic relationships, personal relationships, is not always easy. But if you have a willing heart, and if you're leading by example, if you're coming in peace and knowing that this is the state that you want this conflict to remain in a peaceful state, it's not always going to be that way. But just always check yourself and know that if I do blow up, if I do get triggered, forgive yourself for that. Don't beat yourself up about it, because nobody's perfect. Nobody's perfect. Everybody is a work in progress. We are all working on ourselves. But that's the key. Are you working on yourself? So if you're actually working on yourself and that person is working on themselves as well, then hopefully those situations will be different going forward. And so my advice is, sometimes people need to just take time and meditate. Go sit and be still with yourself and look at yourself in the mirror and decide what it is that you want to do differently in those relationships.
I definitely appreciate the comment, and I want to say thanks for coming and sharing your wisdom with us. It was a great conversation. Next, if we didn't have something scheduled for next week, I would have liked to do a part two. So in the future, sometime I would like to come back and revisit this topic or any other topic that you may bring to the table. I know Ms. Harris had brought some more, but I wanted to share with everyone that's watching next week. Mr. Clifton, correct me if I'm wrong, but we are supposed to do something on Black History Month.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
Go ahead,
we have to formulate. We need to do a part. Maybe need to do a part two on this. But yeah, we need to, do something on Black History Month and come up with something. We invite everybody. Everybody bring maybe somebody they can talk about for 2 or 3 minutes, and just kind of explain or something, little known Black history fact or something like that. Challenge our readers, and they don't have to be Black to be part of Black history. So there are a lot of people I'm saying there are a lot of people who helped us in the movement and still do. You know what I mean? So I just think that maybe, judging from the rate of participation, I think that we ought to kind of follow up with this maybe, or talk about it at least in the sense, maybe me, you, and Lisa talk about it in the sense and just see where we need to go and what we need to do. So,
Okay. All right. So what I do is
I like it though.
we'll post midweek, we'll post something letting them know which direction we're going to go next week. Miss Foster, we're going to go again with you. If I don't know if you're available, I don't know what your schedule's like, and I apologize for speaking for your time without knowing exactly if you're free or not. We just assume, that you would be free. So let me ask you that first. Would you be free if we wanted to do, or we want to go in the direction of a part 2 of this?
Yes, I would love. I would love to.
Okay. So we'll work it out, and we will be in contact with you, and we'll let you know. I definitely appreciate all the comments from everybody and everybody participation and everything. This was definitely educational session. I've learned, like I said, I came in looking to learn, and I actually learned, so I thank everybody for coming, and I'm going to look forward to seeing everyone next week. And with that, we're going to close because of the time restraints. As much as I hate to, we have to. And I'll see everybody next weekend at the same time, same place. And like I said, we will post what we're going to do later in the week, so we'll know what direction. So so everybody know what direction we're on. I will post it early. All right. Thank you, and everybody have a good night.
All right, you too.
All right.